Hi, thank you for coming. I have a lot to get through, so we only have like under an hour. So I'm just going to go straight to it. My booth is right over there, 718. So if you're going to want to do any Q&A, just feel free to follow me afterwards, so at least I could show you all of this. So I'm an author of a nonfiction book series called Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo. And I unravel the vortex of extraterrestrials, aliens, UFO disclosure, and end-time prophecies. So I connect dots. So I ask everybody to temporarily suspend your unbelief, just so that cognitive dissonance doesn't get in the way of receiving new information. Perception is reality sometimes, and everybody has different perceptions and perspectives of things. So I hope to give you a new one here. I connect the dots, and the constellations are all about connecting stars, which are the original connecting the dot, coloring books when we were kids. And so that inspired me to do this series on disclosure. So, there's an old saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket, because everybody is waiting with bated breath for the US government to tell us what's going on. So don't hold your breath, okay. There are other avenues of disclosure that I hope to offer you today that you can look into yourself. So I'm going to get straight to it. There is a very odd connection between Nibiru. Now the word Nibiru comes from Zachariah Sitchin's translation of the ancient Sumerian cuneiform tablets. It is the Sumerian word that everyone was calling Planet X. And there's a very odd connection between these three presidents. So I'm going to show it to you. And yes, Nibiru is the pink elephant in the living room, or in the, that no one is talking about because of the truth embargo, which is the UFO cover-up. So it's intricately connected. Planet X is what everyone has been calling it for decades. And it's not just one planet, it's a system, okay? And we are not alone here in our solar system. In fact, our sun has a binary twin that we call Nemesis. And Nemesis is a brown dwarf star that died millions of years ago, and it's in an orbit with our sun, and it has 7 planets that orbit it. So there's 7 planet X's, and one of those 7 planets is Nibiru. But Nibiru is very different than all the others, and I'm going to show you. It's elongated, it's tilted, and it goes around both suns, ours as well as Nemesis. So this photo all the way in the bottom left corner I took because I saw it with my own eyes. So that is not a lens flare. And every now and then we are seeing something show up around our sun. And I'm going to show you even more. So this photo, all the way at the top, the purple, was the IRIS photo that came back. IRIS is the Interface Region Imaging Spectrograph, which was a probe that NASA sent out to the outer edges of our solar system in the 1980s. And it returned in 1982 when Ronald Reagan was president, and they showed it to him. And from that moment on, there was a cover-up of Nibiru. In fact, I have a book series. 6 books are available at my table, and book 5 is all about Nibiru, and I actually document the history of this cover-up, because all the astronomy magazines were searching for it from the 1920s. In fact, how they discovered Pluto and Uranus and Neptune was through perturbations on the other planets. And when they finally discovered Pluto in the 1930s, they saw there were perturbations, which meant that there was something else out there. And this was the driving force of astronomy for decades until the 1980s, when they showed this picture to Ronald Reagan, who was developing what we call today the Star Wars system. And that was the Strategic Defense Initiative, which is basically putting weapons in space to protect Earth from aliens. So when he saw this, he also thought aliens. He also, as you can, I'll give you some time to read this, but and this is in my book, by the way, as well, so you can get all this information, the executive order that he wrote April 2nd of 1982, that basically was a blackout on Nibiru. And then people stopped talking about it. The astronomy magazine stopped publishing it. And scientists went missing. And Google Sky blacked it out. The only part of Google Sky that was blacked out was where Nibiru was. So we are seeing in the space telescopes other planets around our sun and gigantic spaceships. So these ships are like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 times the size of Earth. And so are the planets. If you do like the size scale, like this right here on the top where it says stereo ahead, see that was in 2020. So we have a planet, and this right here where there's a hole in it, you're gonna see that, I'm gonna show you again. We have tons of space tech in space between Earth and the sun that's up in the upper ionospheres. And this is just a sampling of it. There's more to this. And it's not just us, it's other countries that are putting stuff up there, so it's very busy up there. Okay, I'm gonna show you this video and let this run. So this was 2007 and 2019. It's just two videos combined. And basically what this is the NASA SOHO Stereo Core 2 spacecraft helioviewer space telescope that is a 24/7 loop. You can go to the website, it's public. A lot of us go there and we harvest photos and videos that are coming straight off the space telescopes before they black it out, because after a while they black it out. So this was harvested before it was blacked out, so it's gone now. You can actually go back in time on there and look at things. So as you can see, I'll let this run out, there's a planet that is obviously orbiting, and there it is, really, that's huge. And you see how the light changed after it passed over the sun? Well, that's because it eclipses the sun. It eclipses our sun like every 28 days. So all that space tech that I was showing you, there's space tech I'm going to show you later as we get into this, that they have put up there just to cover this up. Okay, so there is a solar simulator that was patented in 1961, 62, and 63. Lots of different parts. And you think, why were they patenting a solar simulator in the early 60s? This is all part of the space race that was happening in the 60s between the US and Russia. So they launched it in 2011. So that's why when we were growing, a lot of us here around my age, born in the 60s, and the sun was golden. We have photos of ourselves as children with golden light. Now the sun is like a bright white flashlight. What happened? Okay, and that's because of the technology. So the solar simulator follows the sun around the Earth so that it covers up these eclipses. Because when these planets eclipse the sun, they turn like a temporary gray light, or it doesn't get like dark, but it changes the lighting, which is something that we've been seeing in our recent solar eclipses. So there's so many different telescopes that are showing the same thing. That's why they were in different colors here, because the SOHO and the helioviewer show the sun in every color spectrum, because they're studying it from all these different. And so we see these planets hanging out right around the sun's corona. We see it crossing over. We see it covering the sun, and we see this often. Okay, here's another video. Watch that. So that was the big solar eclipse. Watch, it's not over yet. That happened on April 8th of 2024. You see that? We'll watch it again. So first you see the moon eclipsing the sun, right? When a solar eclipse happens, it's a new moon. Yep, that's the moon, and it's going in one direction. The moon doesn't reverse directions. The moon goes in one direction. Now you see another object eclipsing the sun shortly after, coming from a different direction, going in a different direction. That is not our moon. That's one of the Nibiru System exoplanets and exomoons. That's actually a planet, not a moon. Okay, everybody saw that? So here we have it again, and I'm showing you why our sun is perturbed. So the word perturbed sounds like disturbed. It is. Our sun is going through an unprecedented solar maximum cycle right now that is called solar maximum 2025 because it's supposed to peak in February of 25, but we've already broke records and we're not even in 2025 yet. Okay, we are getting bombarded with solar storms, coronal mass ejections, solar flares that are happening almost daily. Every now and then we have a few days in between, and that's when it takes about 24 to 36 hours for the CMEs to hit the Earth, for the solar flares to hit the Earth. And that's what's warming up the planet. That is the cause of climate change. So don't let anyone tell you, guilt trip you, or gaslight you into thinking that you're the problem, or that you're the cause of climate change, or it's your cows, or it's your cow farts, or it's curly light bulbs that you're not using. It's the sun. The sun has always been the cause of climate change on Earth. So this is a picture of the planet that eclipses the sun in all of the stages. And this is also showing, that's on the right, and on the left, those are from the FAA weather cams that are situated around the planet. There's one here in Colorado, there's one in Alaska. We watch them daily, and every now and then they reveal what happens because it's technology, and technology is not perfect. So we are seeing the imperfections, and that's when it's revealing this other system that it's intended to cover up. It's not a perfect system. Okay, here's some more videos. So this, you know that song by Sting, There's a Little Black Dot on the Sun Today? Yeah, well, he might have known something or been prophetic in his songwriting, because that's what we're seeing. We're seeing objects cross the sun, and we're also seeing the two suns. So let me just tell you about Nemesis, which is the black dwarf. It doesn't radiate light anymore. Okay, Nemesis is dead. But when our sun illuminates it, it looks like two suns. Just like our sun illuminates Venus and Jupiter and Mars and all the other planets, and it looks like big stars in the sky. So when Nemesis comes side by side to our sun, which it has been in the past decade, and our sun shines, it will look like two suns. So there's nothing more ancient than the truth, and if you study the past, you can figure out what's happening now and in the future, and there's nothing new under the sun, because this has all happened before, because it was literally written in stone. The ancient Sumerians left this in stone, and they left us star maps. So in this the black basalt, that impression, that is this system. That is our sun, which we call the dark star because it doesn't radiate anymore. It has many names. And that's just a little bit about me, where I'm coming from, what I've done, why I'm in this. And I like to connect dots. So one way that they are giving disclosure is called soft disclosure, and that is through TV and film. And this was a decision that was made in the 1950s by Majestic 12, who were a group of 12 top admirals and generals that were in charge of the military. And because of what happened after World War II, with all the UFO crashes, Roswell, there was more than just Roswell, there was Socorro, there was lots of them. They had to find a way to control the information. They knew that they weren't going to be able to control people's experiences and people's eyewitness reports. They knew that people were going to talk to, magazines and reporters and this and that. So they masterminded and they thought, okay, well, we have to prepare the public, so we're going to give pieces of it to directors, writers, screenwriters, TV producers, and put it into the culture, entertainment culture. And this is why I say the truth is stranger than fiction, because in every one of these shows that I'm showing you here, it was by design, okay? It wasn't just an imagination and somebody wrote a cartoon and, oh, isn't that cute and sexy, the genie coming out of the bottle, befriending the NASA astronaut while they're in the middle of a space race with Russia, okay? And there's so much metaphor in that show. It's entertaining, it's funny, it's cute, but there's a lot of disclosure in soft disclosure in I Dream a Genie. Same thing in My Favorite Martian, Star Trek, Star Wars, and here we have even sooner, Resident Alien, which has been is given in season 4 is coming in the new year. But every generation, my point is that every generation has an alien TV show, just to keep it going in our consciousness. And of course, Stargate. First the movie, then the show, because it's real. Because these Stargates are real. And there's no coincidence that NASA came out and said, we have discovered hidden portals all around planet Earth that open and close dozens of times a day. That's how they get in and out. Okay, timing is everything, right? So we are living through a multi-dimensional reality that from time to time bleeds over into our reality and causes people to see things and experience things. So everybody, I've always made it a point in my life as a researcher and an experiencer to take everybody's experiences, never deny what someone is telling you, because if they saw something and they felt something, experiencing something, that's their witness. And in a court of law, a witness is legal testimony. Now, it's up to the job of the researcher to connect the dots to see what it is that they actually witnessed. But to deny people or gaslight people or mock people that their witness wasn't real, and fortunately, thank God, here we are on this day, we're moving away from that mocking culture that puts people down in order for the truth to be heard because of what's been happening unprecedented in the U.S. Congress since last year with the whistleblowers. And it's not over yet, we're in it. So this was something in 1995. I had trouble sleeping. I've always been sort of a lifelong insomniac. And I used to sit out on my balcony and watch the dawn. I wanted to see it from how the stars disappeared and that change, okay? And one night, I'm sitting out on my balcony, clear, there wasn't a cloud in the sky, watching the stars, and the dawn starts to come. And there was a moment there, and I drew this, that's my sketch, where I saw, with my own eyes, no films, no cameras, no nothing, a honeycomb shape all around the sky. Like it was just covering the whole sky, and it was only for, maybe like 10 seconds. And then the light made it disappear. Because let's not forget what light does. Light illuminates, light obfuscates, light reflects, and light can retract. So I saw that in 1995, and I was blown away when I started to watch the Marvel movies, and they were showing this field around the Earth that was shaped exactly what I drew in 1995. So it's real. So I go back and forth here. So this is, a message in my book series, which is consistent in all books, is to get people, is to help people to understand that in this day and age, at this end time that we're living in, and we're living in unprecedented times, it's not enough to just be street smart or book smart. You need to be spirit smart, okay? You need to be able to discern light and dark and truth from lie. So again, back to TV. We had the movie, the TV series V in the 1980s, and it was redone in 2009 to 2011. I highly recommend you guys download and binge watch it. Especially, they only did 2 seasons, and it was done on ABC. And why was it canceled? Because of content. Because they got, if you watch it all the way to the end, and I recommend watching it in order so you get the story, and what they're revealing at the very end, it was too close to home, so to speak, so they canceled it. And it was all about how our government is dealing with this alien presence. And the alien presence is masquerading as human, okay? So the aliens told Bob Lazar, I'm gonna bounce around here, connect dots, you gotta bounce around to connect them. So Bob Lazar back in 1989 told his story and said that the aliens see us, humans, as containers. And I thought, well, isn't that interesting? Because the Bible calls us vessels. Containers, vessels, it's like a thesaurus word, right? It's the same thing. So they see us as containers. So there's a lot of aliens that are walking amongst us that you may even do business with, or you see, or you rub elbows with, or whatever, and you don't even realize it because they're in human bodies. So think on that. The TV series V revealed all that. The people who wrote that, they were in the know, because that is exactly what's happening. And their agenda, okay, what they want from us, why they're walking amongst us, is not all love and light, people. I'm sorry to tell you, but I'm here to tell you the truth. Okay? It's not all love and light. They see us, we are not the top of the food chain, and they see us as, they want to harvest our energy, they want to harvest our soul, they want to harvest body parts. Okay, that's what's behind the alien abductions too. They take pieces of one person, pieces of another person, mix it together and stick it in one of their hybrids, and they can create memories because they can't create a soul. Only the Creator, God, can create a soul. And that's why it's a very hot commodity, your soul. And it's fought over by both sides. So we see here how the religious institutions, they know all this, they know way more, especially the Church of Rome, who I expose, the Vatican, and why the Vatican wants to drive disclosure, okay, which blew my mind. This is all in my new book. And yes, God did create aliens, non-human creatures, to serve, just like He created animals. There's many different types of creation that is in the universe, but for some reason there's a clash of two kingdoms here on Earth, and this is evidenced by our history. I don't make this up, I'm just reporting it. If you study history, you will see that the very same thing just comes back, it cycles back. And that is what we're dealing with right now at the end of this age. And when I speak the word age, I'm talking about the precessional age of Pisces, which is governed by the sun, okay, which is a 2,160-year cycle that we are coming very close to the end of. So this is what inspired my book cover when I first started, the first book, Who's Who in the Cosmic Zoo. And, you know, people say, oh, how could you put a reptilian hand in the place of God? Because the reptilians are posing as gods. They're trying to usurp religion. They're trying to get your soul energy, your worship, and they live here. They don't come from out there in outer space or another planet. They've been living inside the earth for millennia, and our history proves that. So this is all in my first book. This chart I downloaded in 1995, and the whole book is about this chart and how this battle, this spiritual battle, political battle, physical battles, family lines, bloodlines, you name it, is all about the clash between these two kingdoms on earth. And there's many names for it, but you know, the human kingdom, you know, we are made in the image and likeness of the gods. The original Hebrew text is written in its plurality. Elohim is plural for gods with an S, okay? And of course the Elohim were created in the image of the creator God. So it's like a hierarchy. And that's something that I also saw, how the aliens order and organize themselves like a hierarchy. Very similar to like military, especially the reptilians. They're very, very militaristic. So we see this depicted in stone. We see this in ancient history. We see this on the walls of churches. This is nothing new. This is just showing you a chapter that there is a Machiavellian, I'm exposing it in my book in great detail, okay, that most people, if you've ever had any trauma in your life, ever, you'd relate to this. Like, who's behind it? So back to The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction. I have stories about Gene Roddenberry and how he was very good friends with these two admirals who were part of MJ-12, that were put in charge of the technology, because after World War II, they were reverse engineering, as David Grush told everybody last year, July of 2023 in Congress, that they were reverse engineering the alien craft. So what were they doing with it? They built an interstellar space fleet. They're preparing for a war with the aliens. Okay? And no coincidence here, these three men, why am I connecting them? Well, first of all, William Tompkins, who was a lifelong space engineer, okay, since World War II. He died on the morning of that solar eclipse that happened in 2017, but he died after he blew the whistle. And there's something about these octogenarians. They get to be 88 years old and they go, I really need to leave a legacy and tell the truth. So he spilled the beans, and he wrote, his book was called Selected by Extraterrestrials, which was his whole career working with these ETs in the US government, okay? And he had this photographic memory, so he sat in on the Apollo 11 lunar landing, okay? And he saw the feed that wasn't given to the public, and that's what that's what they've been covering up, and they cover it up by people thinking they never went to the moon. No, they went to the moon, they went to the moon, they had 6 missions, they landed, and yes, they were greeted by a fleet of alien spacecraft, and that was his drawing from 1969, okay? It's in his book, and he spoke about it to MUFON in 2017, and they named their conference after him, the Secret Space Program. So this is real. I think I already showed you that. Okay, this is me I saw a USO, a silver disc-shaped ship come out of the Gulf of Mexico in 1995. That's what got me down these rabbit holes. because seeing is believing. And I'm like, what? Huh? First I thought it was a pod of dolphins, and then I thought, oh, it can't be a whale. I was like, oh, no, it can't be a submarine. Why is it coming so close to shore? And there it was. It lifted itself out of the ocean. It had like foam and sea foam and water coming off of it. It sat there for maybe a minute, and then it shot up into the sky like in a New York second, and I watched it become a star. And that night, MUFON got 350 calls from other people witnessing the same craft along the beaches. So it made me go down these rabbit holes, and I saw, wait a second, this is nothing new, it's in the Bible. It's ancient. You know, the Bible isn't just a religious book, it's also historical documents, okay, of stuff that actually did happen. And it's in the Bible. So it's coming out of the ocean, it's coming out of the earth. That means they're in the earth. They're inside the earth. They're not coming from outer space. And then, 2022, 2 of them showed up. That's a photo. That actually did happen. Again, right on top of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's like a portal there. Some ancient portal, which I think goes back to Atlantis. And that's why it's called the Tampa Triangle, because it's on the west coast of Florida. So very interesting stuff. So back to connecting the dots to the truth is stranger than fiction. And I thought, well, look at all these water gods we've had in the past. You know, all the way back to, we've had Enkai, who's a lord of the waters, that's Sumerian. We have the Babylonian, we have Neptune, we have Dagon, and we have Aquaman today. So Aquaman is a big soft disclosure film, 2 films, part 1 and part 2. So did anyone see part 2? Yeah? Okay, well I recommend you guys see part 2 because look at what they put in it. So I published my book 1 4th edition last summer, and I got a hold of this letter that was written by, the whole thing is in my book if you want to read it, by Albert Einstein and Robert Oppenheimer. And remember last year, Oppenheimer became the movie of the year. So there's a reason for all of this coming to the surface all at the same time. No, that's by design, no coincidence there. So I published that, and what was in that letter that they were writing to the then President Roosevelt before he died? They were trying to influence him to change policies about extraterrestrials in the United Nations, okay? The United Nations. So when I was living in Florida, after I saw that USO, I met a whistleblower named Colonel Wilson, and he's now like 98 years old, but he told me that in the future, they were going to transform the United Nations into very similar to the United Galactic Federation of Planets, similar to Star Trek, okay? So I, put that in the back of my head and I remembered it. Then I come across this letter to the United Nations about ET exopolitics, the policies of extraterrestrials. Okay, this was declassified in 2023. And then what happens in December of 2023? Are you being entertained here with all this stuff? Okay, good. Because it's a good way to tell stories too. So in Christmas of 23 comes Aquaman 2. Okay, I don't want to spoil it for you. I couldn't even if I tried because it's phantasmagorical and I highly recommend it. So how does it end? It ends with Atlantis rises from inside the earth, and Aquaman becomes the spokesperson for the inner earth aliens to the United Nations. Now, where did they get that from? The truth is stranger than fiction. So I'm just connecting dots to these ancient gods that were also part of the water, lords of the water. These are actual photos that were declassified, that were taken in 1971 by the USS Trepang in the Arctic Circle. And that is obviously the famous Tic Tac video that started the disclosure movement that was released in 2017. And here's the whole bunch of them. So as you can see, there's 3 different shapes. There's the cigar shape, the cylinder craft. There's these like triangular ones, and then there's the classic saucer UFOs, and they are coming and going inside the ocean. So in 23, big year for disclosure, these were 2 articles that were put out by the Military Times and Navy Times. The Pentagon UFO chief says that there's an alien mothership in our solar system. You can't make this stuff up. So now we can use the word mothership and not be laughed at. So yeah, we have to look at the past. These photos on the end here, that was from 2022. So people are seeing the sun look like wings, like a phoenix wings, and the reason for that is plasma. So our sun is having plasma exchanges with the Nemesis-Nibiru System, which is causing the perturbations on the sun. And so people are seeing all kinds of interesting sunrises and sunsets. And by the way, people ask me, how can I see this? So remember we talked about how the light illuminates? So you can only see it about an hour before sunrise, because when our sun actually comes up, it completely obfuscates the system. You can't see it, just like it makes our stars disappear. And you can also sometimes see it, depending on latitude and timing, right around sunset. So the southern hemispheres have the best viewing. So here we have this, I'm going to show you this. This was in stone, written in stone. That's my new book, by the way, just got published last week, and I'm releasing it here. And it's all about the ancient cosmology and why I don't do astrology anymore. I was an astrologer for 25 years, professional, and I had a near-death experience, and I saw Yeshua, and he corrected me. And he said, you have to focus on Nibiru, because I'm returning with Nibiru. So that's what got me down started the books, and he wanted me to put him in my first book, and I did, and now he's in 7 books. So I started to realize that astrologers are not playing with a full deck of planets and stars, because they're completely missing the Nemesis-Nibiru System, which is right here in our solar system. So when you say, oh, you're having a Pluto transit, a Mercury retrograde, or this or that, what's happening with the sun trumps all of that. Okay, and I'll show you this with the Schumann resonance, the Schumann frequency. You guys heard about that? And how it causes the ascension flu and all that? That's radiation from the sun, which is being caused by this other system intersecting in our solar system. It's right here. So look at what the ancients, they put this in stone. This is Sumerian. And now watch this. Okay, I'm showing you pictures, and I'm going to show you the video. Okay, watch that. That is exactly what was written in stone, the same shape. They call it Ezekiel's wheel because it was written about in the Bible. And this was captured around our sun. February 28th of 2020. So, the book of Ezekiel talks about all of this. And these are just illustrations. But I thought this was interesting about Contact, the movie Contact, and how they built that platform for them to time travel, and that was originally built for Terminator 2, but they use it in Contact. So there's a lot to that. So this is just showing you that I have all this stuff in the books. I connect all these dots because it's all part of the same ball of wax. And then we have the rejected Jewish text, the books of Enoch, and the books of Enoch tells us that in the last galactic war, these fallen angels were buried underneath one of the mountains, Mount Vincent, which is actually in Antarctica under the ice. And is it any coincidence that in 1998, the X-Files movie came out, and where was it located? In Antarctica. So we need to keep our eye, and that's why people don't go there. It's very restricted. It's very hard to get there unless you're like military or politicians or something like that. So we need to keep our eyes on that. So we have, this is the end times. Everybody's got their phones. They're going to be, and we see this online all the time. I mean, if you go to my Facebook page, I post this stuff all the time. People are, and it's great. It's great that people are sharing this all around the world because it's not just isolated to here. People are seeing it everywhere. They also called it the dragon. The Chinese called it the dragon. And there's Sitchin, and his first book, he had 12 books called the Earth Chronicles, but he exposed all this in the 12th planet, and the ancient Sumerian star map. So we are seeing this is more space telescope photos of these, and there's multiple objects, okay? It's not just one. And this is just to give you an idea of the size, okay, and in relation to the Earth. Like scale, that's the illustration on the top left. All the three bottom are real photos from the Space Telescope. And, they used to call it the Planet X system, and it's connected to the biblical wormwood, by the way. So the biblical wormwood is not Nibiru, but it comes out of Nibiru. So Nibiru, we also call it the black star system because it's a dark star that doesn't shine anymore. So Nemesis, and one of the planets were named after different astronomers recently. Harrington is Robert S. Harrington, that used to be the NASA space chief. Ferrada is Carlos Muñoz Ferrada from Chile, who basically called it a comet planet, and all of his calculations were very spot on and accurate. And so in 2017, we had a huge disclosure, and that was that they came out with a system that they saw 7 Earth-sized planets, and they called it TRAPPIST-1. And TRAPPIST-1 was the name of their telescope. So they keep changing the name, but it's the same system. And that was in Chile. And, we're seeing, this is in the early 2000s, we were seeing these 2 objects with holes in them show up around the sun simultaneously, as you can see in some of these pictures. So I put that together with the Star Wars Death Star because it has a hole in it, but right in the middle is really and I showed you that at the beginning, it was in orange, and this is just because, they have like the same technology in different colors. You can see one is orange and one is blue. It's still the same object. And again, eclipsing the sun, showing up in the sun's corona. And so we had Star Wars prepare us for this. So the picture in the middle is recent and was taken on the Earth. All the other pictures, the other 3, are all from Star Wars. But Star Wars was preparing us for the binary system, because that's what we are. We're in a binary system. And is it any coincidence that today's astronomers, when they are finding exoplanets out there, they're calling it Tatooine planets? So is it art imitating life or life imitating art? Because now they're actually calling it Tatooine planets after Star Wars. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. So Nemesis is the dark star, and Star Trek did a film about it. All this is pieces of soft disclosure, and this is just to show you how this system is interacting with our solar system. And it's been there all along. The ancients wrote about it. So yes, every now and then the media does throw us a bone, and back in the early 2000s, CNN published that. That was on one of CNN, and CNN has done a few different blurbs, little reports about it, Planet X, Nibiru. So it's not like it's a total media blackout, but every now and then it does come through. And here today we have DART. So DART is one of NASA's big projects, okay, most important ones too, because what they're doing, just like what they did in the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis, They're not sending any suicide missions, I'll just tell you that. They're not sending any people, but they're sending technology to nudge these asteroids off their orbit, just a little bit, which is enough to throw it off course so that it doesn't come and hit the Earth. So far, so good on that. So if somebody asks me, are they going to be able to stop Nibiru? And I'm like, no, because Nibiru is like, 7 times the size of Jupiter, and it's a planet, so they're not going to be able to stop. But Nibiru is not going to hit the Earth. Let me just calm everybody's curiosity there. But Nibiru, as we were talking earlier, is a comet planet because it has 2 tails. And that's why the ancients always depicted it with wings. And that's why it was in the walls of the ancient Egyptian temples, it's in ancient Persia. It's a red disk with wings because it's a red planet. And why is it a red? It's actually gold on the inside, but it looks red on the outside because of its red iron oxide. So red iron oxide is in its tail, both tails. And those 2 twin tails are comet tails. It's a lot of debris and a lot of space junk. And this is the reason why, right now, as we live and breathe on planet Earth, we are seeing a marked uptick, unprecedented, in comets, asteroids, meteorites, and fireballs that are passing and even hitting and coming to Earth. Because Earth is moving, orbiting, in the path of Nibiru's debris tail. So Nibiru doesn't hit the Earth, we actually meet up with it as it passes the Earth, and it goes around our sun, and the sun is going to catapult it and give it energy and send it back out onto its orbit when it'll pass the Earth the second time. So the book of Isaiah in the Old Testament talks about how the Earth will turn upside down. And that is biblical vernacular for pole shift. And we already are 45 degrees into that. So we are seeing all these reports about new planets, new Earth, new this, new that. And you have to really kind of pay attention to it because it's not like front page news. They don't lead with it if you're getting your news from the mainstream media, but it's there. It does get reported, it is there, okay? If you follow me on Facebook, I share all that stuff if you're interested. So again, all of these are actual photos. The one on the closest to me on this bottom is what it looks like through a telescope. So that's what they're seeing in a telescope, and this is sunsets, and that's the Egyptian on the Egyptian temple walls. So, there's all these scriptures about the end time prophecies, and a lot of it has to do with this system. Okay, why the sun will go dark and the moon will go red. Well, that can't happen. First of all, solar and lunar eclipses, I know you guys know this, can't happen simultaneously. And people thought, oh, that must be an eclipse. Not an eclipse of the sun or the moon, not our sun, the eclipse of this system. And what this system is going to cause is an atmospheric storm. Okay, so the red iron oxide is going to get so thick that it's going to black out the sun for 3 days. So you've heard of the 3 days of darkness? And then it's going to turn the moon red. So that's what those scriptures are about. So I'm just going to flip through these because I only have 2 minutes left, and you can meet me at my table to get more information. But we're seeing all kinds of anomalies happen on the sun. These are all from the Google sky. I was telling you how the Google sky was blacked out. There it is on the bottom there. It's back now. So we see these ancient prophecies all about this system. Every single culture has it. It's in the Judeo-Christian, it's in the Sumerian, it's in the Chinese, the Greeks, they called it Hercules. And approximately every 3,600 years it comes around, which creates a reset for Earth. But what we're having in this age is that it's a confluence of several cycles coming to an end at the same time. And this is more, space photos of these objects. And these are all taken on the Earth. This was Antarctica. This is all down in the south, and how they're seeing this in different locations, the two suns. Illustration. I'm just going to flip through these. That's from the telescope. That's what it looks like. People are seeing it. I have the coordinates for anyone who wants it. It's published in my book. And that's my book series, showing how the two binary systems intersect, and they are behind a lot of our history too. And so are the beings. You heard of the Anunnaki, which basically is a Sumerian name for extraterrestrial. Sitchin translated he who comes from the heavens to earth. We'll just call him an ET, okay? And there's all your ancient stone carvings showing this system. It's in every culture all around the planet. And I'm just connecting it here with everything else. Oh, and spaceships. Let's not forget that. We're seeing spaceships around the sun. And every time, sometimes they show up with like a fleet, and then there's a blackout for 2 days. The instruments go down. So you have to really catch it while it's happening. I'm connecting the dot to the Phoenix Lights because one of the ships that looks just like the Phoenix Lights showed up around the sun. So I thought, well, it's the same shape ship, maybe it's the same thing. This is a depiction of a collection from the Chief MUFON investigator. And he was sharing his photos because he goes through the space photos too. And he's like, what is considered techno-signatures? That's what they're calling them now. Techno-signatures, another word for UFOs, spacecraft. So you're seeing these cylinders show up and ships, they've been hiding in clouds since biblical times. I prove it. I have all the scriptures. I put them in my book. It's actually written in the ancient Judeo texts, the Torah. So all of this is real. This is all from the space telescopes, all the UFOs around the sun. I'd love to show you this. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so this was taken from the ISS, the International Space Station. So NASA astronauts are under non-disclosure agreements. They're not allowed to reveal what they see. But this astronaut, now let's not forget, the ISS is home to 11 different space agencies. And this astronaut is part of the ESA, the European Space Agency. And he was from Spain, and he had to watch this ship hover above the Earth for 2 months, May and June of 21. So he pulled out his cell phone and he started to record. And that's what you're seeing. And of course, once it goes out on the internet, that genie doesn't go back in the bottle. So everybody copies it and puts it on their YouTube pages. But I have the original, and this I'm showing with the other researchers as well to give them credit for it. But this is real. I have seen it, and it's shown up again. It showed up again 2 years ago. Okay? The same shaped ship. And people thought, oh my goodness, doesn't that look like the Klingon bird of prey? And that's why we have science fiction, is to give people something to relate to have reference to. So you see this ship, and you see all these little scout ships coming and going from it. And the lights go bright, and then the lights go dim, and there it sits. And all those little dots around it are moving ships. And you can see it. I know he goes in and out to try to get clarity. And there it is, way above the Earth. You couldn't see it from the Earth. You had to see it from space. And as you can see, there's ships coming and going inside of this big structure, which is, we can call that a mothership. And remember, I was telling you how the Pentagon came out last year and confirmed that there's motherships around the Earth. which could explain for all the little ships that they're seeing coming and going. You can see this moving. Look, it's showing the light. You see how the light goes bright? So there's activity. So we see this was put into the frescoes. I'm going to have to end this. Sorry, but you can come back to my table and I can show you some more. And so this is ancient, the cloud ships. They hide in clouds. It's in the Bible. And they put it on the frescoes, medieval art. It's also on the money. This is the Swiss banknote, hiding in plain sight. So it's just a little joke. But yeah, we need to get our souls right with the Creator, because all this is coming down. It's all happening, and we're living in unprecedented times, and you're all here for a reason. So thank you so much for listening. God bless you.